This video is brought to you by breathing. Hello everyone, Bront, CatHerder here. We're having some fun talking Raid Shadow Legends, and I am here, despite the fact that I am particularly sick, to do the sneak preview reaction. Raid has offered up a bunch of interesting new patch notes, and they've made this video here. I have actually managed to not see this video at all, so this will be my first reaction to it, so that will be a lot of fun. As I mentioned, I'm fighting a cold or flu or something like that. I think I'm on the upswing. I am finally medicated a little bit, but I feel like I'm actually recovering a little bit, which is helpful as well. But unfortunately, between being asthmatic, not having a thyroid, and being diabetic, I am pretty much the guaranteed person to get the worst of the worst when something like this happens. So, yay! I'm bad at breathing. Awesome. So, with all that said, hopefully you're doing better than I am at the moment, and, I'll still continue to do some content. I've got some content ready to go. The next content I need to film will probably be my Thursday wrap-up of the look at how we are going to do the fusion, so I will do a fusion video on that as well. But I wanted to get this out to you guys as well, so that, you can take a look and see what I think about this stuff. Take a look at this video itself. I will have a link to this video in the description down below as well. So let's see what Raid's got in store for us. This should be interesting.
Hey everyone, it's time for another sneak peek video where we're taking a look at what's coming in update 10.55. There's lots to unpack here, so sit back, enjoy, and let's get into it. First up are several expansions to Siege.
Interesting.
The clan fortresses are getting major upgrades with additional building levels, more garrison slots, and a brand new defensive mechanic called traps. If you're a new player and you're wondering what Siege even is, go check out the dedicated Siege videos. We'll put the links on screen for you. Now, back to the specifics. All upgradable buildings in your clan fortress can now reach level 6 with expanded garrison slots to house more defense teams.
Interesting. So, I guess because Siege feels like it just goes through so quickly, expanding the defenses makes some sense. It also means that you can't necessarily hold out on one particular blocking point to defend the siege where, it might be nice to actually have things spread out so that people can see it stopped at different areas as well. The problem that Siege still continues to have is that there are ways to make teams that are almost impossible to actually attack unless somebody has an exact replica of that team, and then it's RNG combined with who has better gear to see who wins that. And that's not as fun. I don't hate some of the conditions, but some of the conditions are unfortunately so specific and so hard to deal with without having spent money and fought the right things, that you get situations where certain faction unity champions are just extremely OP in Siege, for example. And I guess I don't hate the fact that there's certain things that are really good in Siege, but it is not fun for a lot of the other clans that cannot fight some of that stuff as well. The good news is, in theory, with matchmaking, you shouldn't fight clans that are going to have that kind of kryptonite for your clan every time, plus the rotation changes a little bit too. But more defenses, interesting. Depending on how they expand this, it could be better. The big problem with just more is people that don't have a ton of PvP champs. Let's get real. Siege is kind of a PvP thing, are going to struggle to build all these extra teams, because it's not just like 3v3 where you only need 3 teams at any one time. Now you might need 4, 5, 6, 7 different teams as a single player to be able to defend this stuff. That said, a lot of late game accounts do have that many champions and do have all kinds of fun champions built. So in many ways, this is encouraging us to keep champions built a little more often. Might be a silver drain, may not be, but it's encouraging players that like to keep champions built to keep them built for the siege so that they can actually run them and have all these multiple different teams that work very well. So I don't hate this. This is interesting.
Quick important note though, upgrading buildings from levels 4 to 6 will cost more, as will repairs for these structures. However, there's good news too. More slots mean more florins for fighting through buildings. You'll earn more mana orbs when you successfully protect your stronghold and mana shrines that are level 4 or higher. Same goes for attacking. You'll get opportunities to earn more mana orbs for rebattling enemy teams and higher level shrines you've captured, since there are more teams to fight. The other major addition coming to Siege is traps. Players can install them using florins and mana orbs, but let's find out why you're going to want them first. Traps work in different ways, from concealing a single champion on the defense team to applying irresistible debuffs or even punishing attackers who attempt to place buffs on their first turn.
Those are interesting. And that's the type of interesting change I think Siege could be kind of fun with. The problem is, if you weigh this too much on the defense, again, it can be too difficult to attack. So if they don't have any counter for this, this is going to make the problem of having some of the very, very difficult to attack teams even worse. That said, these look to be on the towers, which don't have the extra conditions that you can get on some of the posts that make this extremely difficult. So we'll see. This has got some interesting potential and I think could be a lot of fun.
They can turn the tide of battle and make a real difference to your defense. Traps can only be placed in magic and defense towers, and only if those towers are fully operational. No repairs outstanding. At the start of a new siege, each eligible building receives up to 3 randomized trap options. The total number of traps a clan can deploy depends on the level of the clan's stronghold, ranging from 2 traps up to a maximum of 18. Any clan member can choose a trap, but it can only be applied to their defense team, and they're limited to 1 trap per siege. Each tower can only have a maximum of 2 traps installed. Once a siege begins, active traps will become visible as soon as the attacking team uncovers the garrison slots where those traps are placed.
Okay, so that's another interesting thing, and I think that's good, is there's a cap on the number of traps you can set overall, as well as how you can set them, plus when they show up is at least somewhat visible. So it's nice to see that some of that stuff is visible versus not visible. This hidden person trap certainly is kind of an interesting one. I think that could be very viable for hiding. I don't know if it was random or the first person or not, but that can be very viable for hiding champions that might make something very difficult to get otherwise. That is, however, going to make communication very key, because once somebody fights one of these things of, do I see this or not, they'll know who that is and be able to get through it afterwards. And to be fair, I can actually see countering that being very simply, if I've got some of these rebattles, I might run a useless rare into a fight knowing I'm going to lose just to see what is behind that hidden one, and then you've lost that advantage. So definitely, there's ways around these things though, and that, to be fair, that does lose one of your rebattles to hoping you might know what that is, but at the same time, it does actually help you figure things out. So, it's an interesting tactical decision, at the very least.
However, here's a tip for you. Only the first attackers who engages a defense team equipped with the trap will suffer the negative consequences. If they win anyway, great news. However, if things are looking bleak, your clan could always nominate someone to intentionally trigger the trap before sending someone more powerful in to safely clear out the defense team lying in wait. But what if a clanmate sets up a trap, fumbles it, and then can't log back in to fix things before the prep phase ends? No worries. We've got you covered. One of the quality of life improvements coming out with 10.55 will enable clan leaders to remove any misplaced traps or defense teams during the prep phase.
Okay, that's interesting too. This is talking about managing it ahead of time, but it sounds like the way the traps are going to work as well is that once you attack a team, and whether you win or lose, that trap has been sprung and won't work again. I don't know if I like that. I mean, it makes some sense for the hidden person one, that eventually that would go away. But at the same time, that feels like you're encouraging people to send in the Scout UDK, for example, as they even showed right there. So I guess that works, and I guess that means that you're going to waste some of the rebattles. But given the current meta with matchmaking actually involves people literally running some of their rebattles to continuously lose to drop the score so they get better matchups, it's I don't think it's necessarily, these traps are going to basically prove to be mostly useless in many scenarios for the high-end clans, where they will either just have good enough teams to ignore them anyway, or they will run in a scout team, lose, and then run a real team against it to finish it up. But it is nice that they're going to let us actually pull the traps off and reassign them as clan leaders as well as hopefully posts and stuff like that as well. Because honestly, it's something that's been needed for a long time. Because I can't tell you as a clan leader how many times I have had to yell at my clan to say, hey, you need to set post submissions, and if you don't, you need to pull your people out of the post so that we can set these things. Or I've had players request, hey, can I get tower 18 because I can set a really good defense there? Well, now as a clan leader, I can say, okay, here's clan 18 because this other person wasn't using it. Boom, you're done. So things like that, which it looks like they're going to talk about as well, because they hinted about that, are going to be helpful.
This happens, affected players will get their resources back, and they'll get a notification on the Clan Fortress page. Oh, and there are no restrictions for affected players either. They can immediately set new traps or assign champions to defense teams like nothing happened. And lastly for Siege, we're introducing 2 new Siege tiers. Progression will work a bit differently. Once your clan accumulates enough Siege points, you'll enter Tier 7 automatically. To get into Tier 8, your clan must win the next siege using at least 30 attack scrolls. If your clan fails on either of these fronts, you'll be demoted back down a tier. Even if you lose, you'll still earn siege points, so ensuring you have the required amount to bounce right back into Tier 7 is as easy as winning a siege. You'll want to put the effort in. You can get mythical gear rewards, as well as extra clan points, unique avatar frames, and valuable crafting materials to get relics from the clan group. Okay.
That's good, because right now there is no way outside of CVC to farm these particular things. So that's helpful. Although, to be fair, the fact that they're hiding it behind Tier 8 is still seems a little sus, because it would be nice to have even lower level clans have some level of access to some of this stuff. And honestly, I'm surprised that some of these shields and crafting materials have not made their way into the regular chests in some way, shape, or form. Even if it was, each chest has, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 of the rare materials, and the only way to get the epic and the legendary ones would be to do the higher levels. That'd be fine. It's still something to craft relics. And since it's a once every 2-week event, giving extra rewards like that would be very helpful.
Next up, we're talking balance changes to Teleria's newest monstrous foe, the Chimera. The full numbers and breakdown will be available in the release notes, so we'll keep it brief here. First,
now, one of the things that I've actually recommended, and we'll see if they actually do it or not, but I think that the ram form reflect damage would actually be fun if one of the ways you could ignore that would be to have reflect damage on your own champions. It would give reflect damage a reason to exist in this game, because right now the only reason that reflect damage exists is for enemies to have it and kill your nukers. So having a reason for you to have champions that have it that actually helps your team, doing that on the ram, I think would be very, very good. They're not going to do that probably, unfortunately, but that would be kind of something cool. So let's see what they actually do.
First up, the ram form is getting a nerf. It'll now reflect less damage while under fear debuffs. And if it's under a true fear, it won't reflect any damage at all.
Okay, that is huge. And I know that some people have decided to ignore the fear effect for this one, partially because if it misses its turn, it does actually jump its turn meter up, so you lose some turn stuff. But if it no longer reflects damage, you could basically go all out and damage it, which will change how much damage you can do against this form. It'll also make some of the form's abilities to get some of the special quests or the challenges, trials, that's right, trials is the right word. It'll let you get the trials done just a little bit better. So I'm actually kind of excited about that.
That's not everything. The Lockhorn's passive will now only increase the Chimera's turn meter by 25% instead of 50% when...
Did I not just talk about that? That's hilarious. That is great. That is the other thing that's nice about that, is that means that putting fear in true fear is less undesirable than not. So that's great.
The skill fails to activate thanks to a fear debuff. Oh, and we're having the dual HP bar for good measure. With all that said, don't get comfortable. The Ram form's accuracy is getting a buff, meaning your champions will find it harder to resist debuffs. While the Ram form may be getting more tame, the Lion form is going in the other direction. We're increasing its base attack and giving it a guaranteed AoE attack with its Shred Reality skill. Plus, the second hit from Atomizing Roar will now ignore defense. Make way for the Apex Predator.
That's actually probably a good thing as well. The Lion form was the lamest of the three. The Lion form has challenges that involve doing stuff with shield, yet you couldn't do most of them because it didn't do enough damage to get through the shields in the first place, which was absolutely ridiculously dumb. So the Lion form doing more damage and being more of a threat, I think, is a good change for Chimera. Now, again, I'm a little frustrated with how long it has taken for them to address some of these things, because the Ram form has been a known problem for a long time. But hey, they're actually making changes. And honestly, so far, these changes to Chimera, I think, are positive changes overall that will make the Chimera experience just a little bit better. Now, that still doesn't help with the Viper form, but the Viper form is a form that really kind of requires you to rein in an automatic system, or just hope that you have all your buffs protected and you have the right skills available when you get to it. So that's, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. It's just the way that form works, because you basically do not want to have block debuffs stolen by that boss unless you can strip it immediately, and you don't want to have not available the block active skills, because if that's not available, you cannot lock out the boss. So generally what I will do on my teams is, when I get to the turn before he transforms, so around turn 24 and 54, I will take over and manual and stop doing any abilities that throw buffs on my champions, or at the very least stop throwing abilities that throw block debuffs on my champions, and go from there. The other one you want to make sure you never grab is, you never want to let it grab counterattack, because that's a good way to actually just die. So make sure you don't use Newt's counterattack. For example, if you're using a Newt, which is he's a good champion for this boss, and then make sure that you don't let it get block debuffs, which is either hoping that your protection set triggers on all of the block debuffs, or better yet, you just hold it off for an extra turn before the first turn of this boss, and then you use a cleanse plus block debuffs on like an Elva to cleanse all the poisons, put the block debuffs up, and then meanwhile you lock this guy out using your Lydia block active skills, or whoever your block active skills champion is, and then that will help you beat the poison form. So that one is doable at the end game, at least. For early game, honestly, it's difficult, but again, Chimera is meant to be difficult for early game counts, so that's not a problem.
It's not just the Chimera itself getting a tweak. We're also adjusting several trials to make them a little easier for you to complete. God. Lastly, let's dive into a slew of quality of life.
Now, the one thing I'm disappointed with is those trials. I still think that Chimera will be more fun with some rotating trials. Don't make the trials constant, because then, as much as that is nice for a perspective of we can build teams that are just, I know how many trials this team does every time, it would be nice to have to actually occasionally swap out different champions for other champions to do specific trials, because the trials rotated a little bit as well. Now, how often should the trials rotate? That's probably a different question. And if they had, for example, since the Chimera is a 4-week rotation, maybe they could actually make it where there's 4 different kind of sets of trials. So each week is a new trial, and then it resets, and you have each week of those same new trials against a different affinity. And then you would have some interesting affinity and trial combinations available, but you could still preset teams for the most part to basically do what you want to do. And maybe you just don't lose all the trials. All right, let's see what quality of life improvements they have.
Improvements we've got coming with update 10.55. For starters, champions in the vault will be available as food for the instant rank up feature in the tavern. We're
I
also
really don't use that
introducing a new
much, but
commission
that's
option
good.
in the Faction Guardians tab. You'll be able to commission champions that are assigned to a Faction Guardian chamber, and that'll permanently grant you that chamber's bonus. Those champions will be entirely removed as they would be when sacrificed for a rank up, but it's a great way to clear out some clutter from your collection.
That's interesting. I generally use my Faction Guardians to lock in champions I want to make sure I keep, and then I'm only keeping an extra spare copy. But being able to simply remove champions that I don't care about anymore and keep those bonuses is interesting. That actually means that the rare Faction Guardians become significantly more interesting to do because you sacrifice a few rares permanently and then you're done and you don't need to keep the rares around at all anymore. So that's actually pretty exciting from that perspective. I actually kind of like that idea. It's certainly not going to apply to the legendaries quite as much unless you're an endgame ultra whale. But even then, are you really worried too much about keeping some dupe legendaries around? Because it never hurts to have some. But that's nice. That's an interesting upgrade. I like that one.
Next up, we're introducing the option to refresh certain advanced quests if you don't like the look of them. You'll only get one refresh per day, but it can make the difference between completing them all or not.
I'll check that.
Difference between complete. Next up, we're introducing the option to refresh certain advanced quests if you don't like the look of them.
All right. So that it was not on the live arena quest, but it looks like, okay, interesting. So it looks like the other one, that's the 50 energy one that you have, you'll be able to refresh that one. That's actually kind of nice because if that's also the one that lets you do like a Faction Wars boss, for example, that one I have locked myself out of a few times recently with hard Faction Wars. So if it's that one that you can change, that's good. I don't know if it is that one that you're going to be able to change or not, but it is nice to be able to change one of these and refresh one of these at least once. I wish they would give you more than one refresh because it would be kind of nice to be able to refresh it twice. But at the same time, as long as it's guaranteed to not be the one you had beforehand, you can change it. That's nice.
You'll only get one refresh per day, but it can make the difference between completing them all or not. Speaking of quests, we're also simplifying one of the clan quests. Instead of surviving 150 turns against the Hydra, you'll now only need to hold the line for 100. Whew. And finally,
that still doesn't address a lot of really bad quests that they need to do. The shield absorption quest is absolutely horrible. They need to fix it. Well, there's a lot of them that they need to fix, but the shield absorption quest is probably the most maliciously bad one. Honestly, all of their shield absorption ones are really, really bad. To be fair, the only way the shield absorption one is not difficult is if you run a Wixwell clan boss, and if you run a Wixwell clan boss, that shield absorption one actually shouldn't be too hard to do. But outside of running that clan quest, that one's not particularly good. There's a couple other clan quests they need to address and make just a little bit more attainable, but hey, they're making progress on them. I never found that one to be too hard, but again, that's on my endgame account, and my early game account isn't even hitting Nightmare Brutal or Hydra Brutal, so I wouldn't have even tried that one in the first place.
we're updating the battle info for all clan bosses. The chest rewards tab will now clearly indicate if the damage you've dealt is sufficient to claim one of the chests. We're almost done here, but before we wrap things up,
That's
let's
nice.
take a peek at some of the awesome new champions coming with 10 points.
Interestingly enough, you still don't have a chance to retry clan boss keys. If that was combined with retry clan boss keys, that would be so much more helpful. As long as that works on every clan boss, that's great. But regular clan boss needs a way to rerun the keys, particularly because regular clan boss already allows you to dive out of the game and cancel the key and not lose the key. So why not just give us the stupid rebattles? Come on, Raid.
0.55. We have an avian-themed banner lord who belongs to Androck the Glorious's famed Knights of the Wild, and several other mighty champions to join along with him. And that's everything for today. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed this sneak peek, and subscribe to the channel for.
So there was the sneak peek. Pretty cool stuff, honestly. I think that that's actually some pretty interesting updates. Some cases maybe not going as far as I might like, but for the most part, they're pretty interesting stuff that is good quality of life, stuff that will make the game better. And I'm going to continue to applaud Raid for continuing to make the game better. Now, it's very easy to rail on Raid as this isn't enough, but we do have to encourage them when they continue to do good things. So as we continue to encourage them to, as they make these quality of life adjustments, as they make these improvements to how the game works, even if not all of these are things that apply to you, these are things that they are thinking forward and thinking about the Raid player experience. So that's good. I am disappointed, however, that they did not mention anything about Minotaur in that video. Hopefully that is coming with the patch. But again, they did mention that is not everything that's happening in the patch. That is just a few things. Although, to be fair, the fact that they didn't mention it means that they missed a possibly very easy win in that video if Super Raids was one of the things that they were going to run in Minotaur. So, hey, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully you guys, enjoyed the reactions. Let me know down below, what do you think of these improvements in Raid? Do you think these are great things going forward? Do you think these are not great? Do you think they missed the mark on some of them? I would love to hear you and your thoughts on these. Again, I'm certainly excited about some of these things, but we'll see how they actually work once we actually get in game. There are plenty of changes that I thought were going to be great that turned out to be meh, and there were plenty of meh upgrades that turned out to be great once I started using them. So let me know down below. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I really do appreciate you all. You guys are absolutely amazing. And until the next video, I am Bront CatHerder.